Beatrice Elachi is the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Public Service and Gender, and I think it has several other things.
Former.
Former CAS. Yes. You left so that you can throw yourself here in this particular ring.
Yes.
Former CAS in the Ministry of Public Service and Gender. And now you are vying for political office.
Yes.
Which one?
Back to Dagoretti North, where we did last 2017. We want to see again this time whether we can
the people of
have women in the city.
Very good.
Yep.
Welcome to the Situation Room.
Asante.
It's good to have you here. It's good to have this conversation with you this morning. So you are among the people who left public service and public office to throw your heart in the ring. But then you also have good experience in running of public office, and you have good experience in legislation. You have been in Parliament, you have been in the County Assembly of Nairobi, you have been in the National Executive. You understand a lot of what has happened in the last 9 years in terms of devolution, in terms of the progress of the country legislatively, and where we need to go.
Yeah.
Let's start with, where do you think we need to go from this point?
Where we need to go as Kenyans. As Kenyans, where we need to go is first to relook at ourselves, and more importantly, to ask ourselves whether we are able now to break the ceiling through the right direction of getting a good leader who will break this ceiling that we've had for the last 50 years and put Kenya completely to a new, I'll call it to a new Uhuru, to a new map, and to new people who can take over, who have not been so much in government. They've worked with government, but maybe not so much within that executive. And that's my prayer, which I know sometimes is very difficult, to break this ceiling that has been there of our young KANU leaders who grew up through the hands of former President, the late Moi. That's my prayer, that I want to see that Kenya now coming up. And it's going to happen. Slowly by slowly, I can see we're moving to the right direction where we break that ceiling. I think that's my prayer, to see that happen.
Are you saying that if we have such a leader, that Kenyans would readily accept somebody who is actually willing to swim against the current, break norms that have been accepted? Let me be specific. For instance, as Kenyans, we all like to be a little hypocritical. A little here means we like to be a great deal hypocritical, meaning,
Absolutely.
on the one hand, we criticize corruption and yet we participate in it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we criticize our leaders for being corrupt, and yet we are the ones who encourage it because we are constantly asking them to give us handouts.
Yes.
Now, the sort of leader that you're talking about is sort of leader who may put a halt to all these things. You think Kenyans are ready to embrace such a leader?
Well, you see, I would let me say what I have, a few lessons that I've learned. A few lessons that I've learned is that we as politicians, we encourage so much all these things that we do. We believe that I will not do development, but I'm able to give people handouts. And so nobody has ever looked at a leader and say, I don't need your money because I have seen you have done 1, 2, 3. It has changed my life. What we have encouraged so much as leaders is to make people to, first of all, lose their dignity by ensuring they are always on the run to look at, where is Mheshimiwa to support me on this? I appreciate that one much. Than making this person more empowered to move on and to get others to empower. It's something that...
Why are political leaders afraid to empower the citizenry?
Because when you get empowered, I mean, look at the US. You get empowered, so I move on. It does not matter whether you are in office, I am in office, she's in office. It does not matter. What matters is When you're in office, are you able to just ensure we are able to get service delivery as we always get? The institutions are working for me. I can walk into immigration, walk into the airport, respect that I'm supposed to remove my shoes. I don't need anyone even to remind me. I arrive, remove, walk in. I mean, that is one thing within our context that we have really managed as leaders to ensure people think when Beatrice Elachi is there, things now, the savior is there. No, I am not. If I am a good leader, is to prepare a system where everyone can feel, even if I don't see Elachi, but I can feel. I can feel the things she's doing. I don't need even to go and look for her at her home, at her. I can come to office because it's a public office. I will need a service delivery. I can walk into the office. But this thing of you've arrived at place and everyone just comes, and everyone at that time wants a solution. Wants a solution that I'm in hospital. Why? My patient is in hospital. We don't have. Why can't, as government, we ensure that system works so that when that person goes to hospital, there are those who can afford, there are those we know they cannot afford. How can we work in that? That's the challenge we face. Today, when you look at Nairobi especially, I think for the last 10 years, if there's a county that has gone through what I'll say, retrogressed completely, even worse than when we used to have the Kanjo guys who used to throw seats, is Nairobi County. Because everyone who walks into Nairobi County looks at Nairobi County as a cash cow. This is an elephant with that long trunk you're talking about. Everyone wants to cut this elephant and have something to go with. But they are not remembering it is your key pillar in Kenya to work. So you come now into the informal sectors. When you look at now life, and you're wondering, so how do we move on? So
But
we
then,
need, we
Beatrice,
need, before I just, let me just finish and just say, well, the person we need now, I think we've done the hardware so much, the infrastructure. I am hoping we're going to get a leader now who goes back to the social fabric, who looks at how do you re-energize people in Kenya to now start rebuilding back what Tomboya used to say, that economic empowerment that removes you from your basics to somewhere or gets you back to the basics. You have food, you have housing, and you have water and education. Those four things, that is what we need to go back to.
is it the leadership that needs to go back there, or does the electorate also need to go back there?
The electorate.
So how does the electorate get... Do you think the electorate sees the current situation as a problem, and do they see the problem the way you see it, the way you've just explained it?
I think they do. They do. After I've gone from 1 week in Nairobi, they do. Because at one point they will tell you, really, Mheshimiwa, mi nataka kazi.
What you're saying,
Mi nataka kazi.
what you're saying is that the citizens really know what they need. They have a clear understanding of it.
They have a very clear understanding, but now they are caught up into, fine, waheshimiwa have this behavior. Hata nikimwambia nataka kazi, kesho sitamuona. So the best, we nipatie basi hiyo yangu, tuachane. But in his desire, he would wish to see somewhere where you'll tell him, tutajaribu kutengeneza hii, kila mtu aweze kujiamukia, kujipatia kibarua.
Can I ask you a specific question?
Yes.
You want to vie for the Dagoretti seat.
Yes.
All right. What's the population of voters in Dagoretti?
156,000.
Okay. How many wards are there?
5.
No. I'm going to take it that you have mapped out the needs of each of these wards.
Yes.
All right. Now, this is a question that even presidents of developed nations are asked. In the first 100 days, Madam Beatrice Elachi,
Yes.
what do you hope to achieve? Not say, because all politicians will say, what do you hope to do that will indicate to the electorate in Dagoretti North that you actually mean what you say?
In the first 100 days.
First 100. You can even make it 50 if you want, but I'm giving you 100.
No, I don't want to lie that I can do it in 50. First 100 days, children in public schools in the Greater North must have a feeding program.
Why?
One, today when you walk into the Greater North, at around 6, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., you will always find children who have come from Kawangware, wherever they are, and they're looking for food. People might think, these children are a nuisance, they are beggars, they are what? But when you pick these children and go back home with them, you arrive in their homes, you realize they were just going to sleep hungry. And if you want to keep them in school and try to avert a challenge that is coming in future where the same children will have now learned different arts of how to survive, and they will become again another challenge that we already face within Kawangware. The best we can do, which I'm doing, but I've been doing for Standard 8s, for those who have been doing exams, try your best, you take to school something they can have at lunchtime, just to. But then, I am telling you, not just the Greater North, if we don't do that for Nairobi, and then we become very strict, that why is a child on the street? Why? Where is the parent? What is the biggest challenge? Then you cannot at this time question this parent because she will tell you, I'm a single mother, sina chakula ya watoto. So that is my prayer. In 2017, when I vied in the Greater North, yes, I got 34,400. But my vision was very clear. Elimu kwa wote, tujenge kesho. And I could see, and the good thing as Beatrice Elachi, I walk in Dagoretti, I went to any house, I buy milk, I enter, nipikie hiyo chai, tunakunywa leo. Just, and I know life. I have seen. I grew up in Kangemi. It is life I understand. I understand without giving that education. And that is what I'm telling many of the people. And they know. They know, Mama Dago, the first thing analia sana is elimu. Because I told them, you cannot come from far and live in Kawangware and then you go back home more worse than the way you left your shamba of 2 acres. And the other thing, it is time even as leaders in Nairobi, many of our people have come from the rural. And you remember the days when we had the rural-urban immigration. People were coming for jobs. Now counties have come. Can we have another system of looking at some families and you realize, if I pick you and take you back home, you are more better, you'll have more better life, your children will go back to a better school at home, but you'll go and do something small there. Than staying in Nairobi, the days of when women would come out and get some casual jobs of washing, kufua nguo. I think because of COVID, the whole system changed. Because many people during COVID time, when they were not going to work, decided, those who now used to employ these mamas, they decided to buy washing machines and changed into technology. And so that job is not there anymore. So you find a woman will wake up from Kibra, from Dagoretti, from Kangemi. Fine, you'll go somewhere, sit the whole day. But that mama will not get that casual job that she's thinking for. Why? That person has already washed the clothes and finished. So within that, we also have to start thinking again through. That was the job that you used to know. Nikiamuka asubuhi, I'll get
a job.
But
I
now,
want to stick on that issue of the school feeding program, Beatrice.
yes.
One of the largest components, in fact, the largest component of the national budget every year is education.
Yes.
Is there any budgetary allocation for school feeding?
There's none. And the most interesting thing, you find that CDF is there, yes. The CDF of Nairobi and the CDF of rural is very different. You find in the rural, CDF, in fact, you will admire, it has an office, It has many things.
It's doing what it's supposed to do.
It's to do. Now come to Nairobi. I think most of them rent the offices. So then you all your money that you would have spent doing other things has gone to rental.
But then there's ring fencing even of CDF. I'm sticking to the issue of budget because, like you said, we need to get to a point where leaders are not being looked at. Oh, so now it's Beatrice. She's getting some money somewhere. She's mobilizing resources for our children to be fed.
From
it
friends.
needs to be yes. It needs to be a properly structured program.
Exactly.
What is it that you're then saying that what ought to happen? Because it's not just in Nairobi; it's across the country.
The first thing
is it an allocation of school feeding program in the budget, or
just within CDF?
Is it rewriting of CDF so that then you can say that CDF is then allowed to have such? Because CDF is development.
Yeah, well,
and for
CDF,
development, there has to be it is defined on what development is.
Exactly. So CDF, before there was an emergency kitty, which is still there. It's an emergency kitty. And then we have the national projects that, you see, one of the things that CDF didn't do. So we changed the law, yes, but we didn't remove amounts saying that, oh, you have gone with fewer functions at the national level, so let us reduce CDF. No, we retained the same CDF.
Yep.
After retaining that same CDF, we remained with an emergency kitty within CDF, and then you can do the police houses and the schools.
Yep.
So the first thing we have to do is to come back in Parliament, amend CDF, and just say CDF has to put in a feeding program. That feeding program definitely will help all constituencies. To Rukana, where we always now start saying, oh, there's hunger, there's this. You can have that. But for me specifically, in the urban areas, where you have informal sectors and children living in those areas, for sure, we cannot just be relying on UNICEF to bring in support and their grants in schools, while we know through CDF, you can run a program that can retain children. And if government is serious that you're retaining children in school, you want to see 100% success moving to the next level, then you must think of Nairobi very seriously. You have to, it can be affirmative action within the same way we have those from the pastoralist areas, far areas, they are given fuel. And whatever they call it. But Nairobians, you can't be given because you are within Nairobi.
Why should it be CDF though? Why not just create a national school feeding program that runs across the country? The same way in the national budget for education, there's a kitty that goes into infrastructure development. There's capitation per child. Then you have the same. There's capitation per child, and then you add a certain amount and say this is for feeding this child.
Let me tell you why CDF. CDF, because you will monitor. At the national level, I'm not disputing it. It can be okay. But let me tell you, by the time you start now fighting with national government, telling them, oh, the money did not arrive, the money did not do this, we are waiting. The principals are even saying, you have taken too long. Then you will find the same problem we are talking about. But with CDF, you see, for me, I know I have 22 schools or 15 schools that need a feeding program. I will ensure that within, because I'll be walking there, it's easier to just walk there and monitor and see, is this happening? And if you find children on the streets, I'll still go back and ask myself, why am I still seeing my children on streets? Yet we agreed this is a program. And it's more easier to manage, because if there are issues of, for example, the money has not arrived, even CDF, it can delay, but you have picked also people within that area, women, young people who can do the tendering of those things, and they're there. And it's easier. It's easier for CDF to run it than giving it completely to the national government. We will always have quarrels with them because of delays. But with CDF, it's easier. The same way you're getting money to paint, I don't know, do what, the same way you will have to make sure. But the other thing, even as we move, you see, there are those critical, stable foods that we know, ugali, people will need. When I look at Nairobi, whoever wants to run this Nairobi should not come there and lie that you will change this. The Nairobi I know. But one thing they have to start thinking is, how do you bring back life to be affordable for people to have a living, even as they go for their different informal jobs? It's very, very... That governor has to be very clear in their mind. And they have also an emergency kitty, which has a lot of money, serious money, where you can ensure people are able to get something in the end of the day.
Because even as you're talking about these things and saying, okay, so what must it look like in terms of leadership for this country moving forward? Because everybody's talked about, we're on the precipice of a revolution, sitting at the edge of a constitutional movement, etc., etc. But I look at issues of management and implementation of some of these things that should not be asked for. It's almost, it should be a guarantee that if you have somebody who is the custodian of a particular office, of a particular thing, it shouldn't have to be asked of you, would you please, may I? That their children starving in a particular constituency and the only source of food that they have is when they go to school. It doesn't sound to me like somebody has to be begged to do something about it. It doesn't sound to me that somebody has to beg and say there's no water in our taps. It doesn't sound to me like something that somebody has to say, please, there's a project, can you implement it? There are papers, can you implement them? This is what folks who are in office are supposed to do. If we look at functioning societies, then I dare say that this one is not functioning as it should. Functioning societies, nobody has to ask. So how are we going to get from the point where people are elected or people are appointed, whatever it is, where we say now this thing is being implemented and managed in the way in which it should? How will that happen?
It's very simple. We have to, for those who are in government, just change your attitude. I mean, just work. You see the problem, people think when the president is here, you have solved the problem. No. You enter into government and you realize the president would wish this to change. But then he'll find the teams now within the different sectors of government. And each of them will come with their way, how they read the law, how they read the policy, how if I do this, I'll go to jail, and all these things. And some will even decide, no, I'm not touching it. You've not followed the right process. So by the time you're discussing one thing in government, 6 months is over. You've not done anything.
But Beatrice, how do we get to change not just the attitude? I agree with what you say when you say it's the attitude, but how do you stop people from being profiteers? Because everyone, whether they're in government, whether they are in private, I mean, it doesn't matter. Everywhere you turn, every Kenyan seems to think they're an entrepreneur. And essentially, they're not really entrepreneurs, they're just thieves. They are looking for an opportunity to make money. It's at the heart of the problems that we keep discussing, because it's not that they don't know what to do. They do know what to do. But there's always that pause of, okay, I will do this. Now, my consideration. Now, it is like our national anthem. Everyone has it. How do you bring that to a halt?
You see, the most interesting thing with all of us Kenyans, we speak so well when we are still outside. Oh, I will do. Oh, the way so-and-so is doing. No, I will do. No. Why I say this, after entering Nairobi County, you look at so many things and you wonder, okay, fine, you want to change Nairobi. You really want to change this Nairobi. Then you have to sacrifice a few things. So you start fighting. People used to think Polycarp was weak. No. It's because Polycarp would have wished to see a transformed Nairobi. But he looked at it and he wondered, when I'm moving at this side, cartel number 1 is my friend. This one they are calling cartel, in fact, is my friend. So I'm facing him and I'm like, what are we going to do with water? Yet you are the problem in this water. And he realized, I'm going to have more enemies and I'm not going to change anything. And people will wonder, why did I come here? Before my name is dusted and called another thing, can I leave? So for us now, who would say, look, us, we are going to brace this thing. And so you face the thing head on. And you're like, people don't care.
Yes.
And we have people who wake up at City Hall, they stand outside there. But in the end of the year, they have 1 billion shillings in their pocket. You're wondering,
What do you mean
okay,
they stand outside?
just outside. Their work is just
To
to
stand
move,
outside the
stand, get to know what is happening within City Hall, move with it externally. And so you're wondering, why is City Hall not moving? It is moving, but with people who are outside than more who are inside. They hold City Hall in their hand like this. They will tell you today which chamber is about to. There's a list.
Which is about to
And
expire.
yeah. So we are about to, this chamber, we need it. Another one will come and tell you, oh, I'm even seeing now they have taken, their sons are now running, and they have serious money, they are buying for people. But no Kenyan is questioning, you want a seat of an MCA. Why are you spending all this money? How are you going to refund this money? Nobody's questioning. They are so happy, engaged, and you're looking at it and you're like, surely if you really want to transform Nairobi, we need someone who will come in, but pray to God that after 6 months you leave them, but you'll have turned around that thing. People will be wondering, was it the same Nairobi or something? But move.
Do you believe it can be done?
It can. It can be done. Oh, yes, it can be done.
But you see,
It
what
can
does
be done.
What does it need, Beatrice? Because here you've given the example of Mr. Gather here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Clearly, this is when you sit and have a conversation with someone like that.
Yeah.
Clear plans,
Oh,
with
fantastic.
implementation, etc.,
He had a
etc.
good plan.
But then you are sitting amongst the wolves.
Exactly.
What are you supposed to do? People say you can stand and you can have this. Your will is to actually go in and change, but then you get into a system which essentially changes you. You are not the tea bag. The water now is stronger than the tea bag.
Yes.
So, how is it? Because really, seriously, Beatrice, practically, you say it can be done.
It can.
I think it can be done. I do not know how. You who's
It
been
can be
inside, what
done.
needs to happen?
It can be
All those
done.
people need to be removed. The rot needs to be taken
know,
out. What needs to
The,
happen?
the time when you're the speaker, okay, the time when you're in the politics of this county, as an outsider who just reads the news, you seem to be constantly embattled.
Yes.
Constantly.
Yes. Because you read a motion and you realize Nairobi is in auction. So you come and you tell them, this, by law, no. And they say, oh mama, ameanza kutuzuia vitu yetu.
So what needs to happen?
So they wake up in the morning and they tell you, without this, there's no peace. No, it can happen. What I will really beg the judiciary, because they have also given the same people a better hand in doing all this evil they are doing.
Really, how?
Because, so someone comes, you want to do something, you run to court, you're given an injunction, and then you stay in court. Then, even if you win the case or not win the case, you come back to Nairobi County, you pay a lawyer 200 million, 400. But if you ask this lawyer, did Nairobi gain? As you are being paid 400 million, I thought you have brought 4 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that you take whatever, whether it's 10% or 2%, but you have brought something back for Nairobi. But you realize all the cases of Nairobi, none of them have been of value of return. In fact, most of them is when you are losing.
You're just paying the
You have a
lawyers.
full estate, it goes like that. And the lawyer is paid 400 million and you have lost your whole estate of billions of shillings. And it's okay, and they move on. So,
but then we can't really blame the judicial system, can we? Because it's the same judicial system that has enabled us to understand that the government can be stopped in its tracks.
well,
Same judicial system.
I am
that
not blaming it. I am just
Yes.
saying it is also good for our learned friends, the judges. Just go also and it's good to also go through public policy. You know, sometimes you can be a judge, but you never, when you are in school, you did. But in practice, you don't remind yourself, public policy, what is good when
Public good.
Yeah, what is good when I'm doing this? What benefit does it have to the country, to the citizenry, than to an individual person? Just that. I'm not saying they're doing bad. It's a matter of having that public good. Do you feel this thing is going to benefit millions of Kenyans than this person? It's very critical. It's time they also have to walk a journey and see. And I would wish them to walk a journey and look at the lives, because I know within the judiciary system also, they always feel, oh, we cannot engage so much.
Yeah.
We are supposed to be this. But it is time for them to go with a mobile clinic somewhere inside Korokocho. Go there. Listen to that citizen. Listen to that Kenyan. He will be you will understand. You'll even look at just the situation and realize there is need of public good to change some of the things. So you can transform Nairobi. One of the things whoever will come in as a governor, and I pray we get a governor who will not be a governor who is coming to do business. That is one. How I pray, I don't know how, because it's Nairobians who will choose. How I pray that you'll get a governor who comes in with a different interest of Nairobi. But I so far I don't know. We are there because anyone who wants Nairobi has been in Nairobi, so they know. Some of them are looking at, hey, how did this Sonko used to get this money? I think I can go there and get the money. So you're not even in the interest of the people.
It's business.
Yeah, it's business. So if you would wish to run Nairobi, there are 3 things fundamental that governor has to do. 1, please bring back the dignity of water in Nairobi for everyone. For everyone. And this is where I'll tell the judiciary, please don't interfere. Whoever governor comes and first overhauls Nairobi water, please don't interfere. It needs change. It needs, whether you are doing rationing or whatever you will do, but let it be clear that I know twice in a week
I'll open a tap.
But not in the end of the month, I have a bill with a tap that has been dry for 3 months. No. So that one is, whoever wants to be this governor must tell us that it is time. People are not going to spend more money buying water. When Buddy came in before I left, I think I left Buddy when we had done nearly 100 boreholes within the slums. But I've realized there are some areas also where, again, they still have those challenges of water within the informal sectors. The second thing he has to do, bring back dignity to Nairobians. How he's going to do it, that economic empowerment is very critical. And he cannot talk about these things we are talking in politics, about going down and coming up. It does not work. It won't work. That one is just a story where somebody looked at the challenges of people and you go and you just make an emotional thing that cannot even move anything within Nairobi.
It's called an empowerment narrative.
First, you don't know how Nairobi is. You have not gone to Mathare, Korokocho, uko chini to realize in the morning when I wake up, what do I eat? You don't know. You have no idea. But you want to tell me you will do these things. It can't work that way. For Nairobi, it can't. And I want to tell whoever wants to be our governor, because this time around, by the way, even as we are going to be very serious, I will not joke with a governor, with people of Dagoretti North. No. And these people who are looking for these big seats, governor, senator, don't just become a senator and then you forget for 5 years you have never even stepped back to even just do even public participation, even just to do civic education for your people. But you now want to come because that's how they are riding on it. In fact, in the end of the day, the person who is now carrying the biggest burden is still the member of parliament, because with the MCA, you are always with those people. They are your people. You can't run away from the challenges and the goodness they are facing. But then you find a governor will come after I don't know how long, because you have this administration. Fine, if the system works better for the administration office and all that, the better. That's the governor who has to come. He has to come rethinking how to transform young people in Nairobi, who right now, when you look at them, see, all of them are, their business is border. How do we enhance this border to be a better business for a person who is with a family? And if we do it better, they can
Madam
have
Elachi,
better.
These things you say, they resonate. I'm quiet because they sound really good.
They're always good. But in terms of management, Jesus, have mercy.
They sound really good. You know, we had someone here before you want to be a presidential candidate. And I also kept quiet listening because the things you were saying sounded very good. But at the back of my mind, I was thinking, but people who aspire for these positions are politicians.
Yeah.
And these politicians know how to present their cases well. Now, let me ask the question. Do you have a blueprint? Do you have written down manifestos and plans so that when you get that seat, after a year, we can come back to you and say, Madam Elachi, in your manifesto,
You did this.
yeah, you said for water you said you're going to do this, for this you said you're going to do this, for this you're going to do this. It's clear, you wrote it.
Yes.
Where are we?
I have it. I don't want to lie about what I have learned to be very okay. It's my weakness. I always tell them they know this I can do. This I have to push the national government to do for us. This is the responsibility of the governor. It is my responsibility to scream, do everything for this governor to understand this is what we want. So what I have done for myself, I have looked what is very open that you can indeed deliver to your people. That's why I started education. I know it's something I have been doing, not for me, by me. And the one thing I've been honest to them is that don't look at me and think Elachi is bringing money. No, this is money from other Kenyans. And therefore, if your child is being taken to school, for sure I'll want to see a report form. I don't know, I'm not a leader who just gives it because there's bursary. No. That bursary has to translate to something better because it's another Kenyan who we have removed their money to bring and support you. So you can't just come. Because the other thing we've decided, you find we say, oh, you have bursary of 5,000. You have, so this 5,000, where is it taking this child? That's what I've been asking them. So I've told them, for me, I'm clear. There's bursary of a child who you see, this is a child who has to go from Form 1 to Form 4 and join university. And from there, move on. There's a bursary of a child who 2-3 times, I will tell you as a parent, look at this child. Is it best for him or her to have skills or to continue? And in the end, this is where we are headed. So I've told the parents, you have to also look at the strength of your child. And now because we are in the new system of CBC, why can't we agree? There is one who can just go to a polytechnic, become a good plumber, become a good... So don't force him so much in something that you're seeing every day he comes home, you're wondering. But yet you're using bursary that would have gone to another child who would have come and transform and pick another child to take to school. So I think we have those conversations. They find it very difficult because they feel, we muhesh, we tuite tu, peana tu basari venye watu. I told them, no. We have to, let's learn also to appreciate. Imetoka kwa wengine, kukuja kutusaidia. But then the other thing that I will tell you is that the issue of economic empowerment, the issue of these young people, that one I have to rethink. In my constituency, I must rethink. Women have to do something. They can decide to do the market thing, but somebody has to have something that he's doing. I have even told them very openly, some we can sit down and discuss. Now as Beatrice Elachi, not as the MP or whatever. Maybe at home you have a land. Maybe it's just something, a small boost, where I can give and you go back home and restart your life. As long as you're going back home, where I follow track
Madam
with
Elachi,
you and the chief at home that this mama is coming. Msaidieni akai nyumba.
Madam Elachi,
Bani.
this accountability that you're speaking of and which you seem to favor, do you think with all these coalitions that we are currently having, these fashionable coalitions where every small briefcase party can now form a coalition, do you think it'll help with accountability or will it just enhance this terrible merry-go-round that we have where the plundering, instead of being reduced, is actually now enhanced?
Well, it is my prayer. The word prayer, it's my prayer that the former Prime Minister, who is also a presidential candidate, he had his own, for many years, there's a song he has sung. In every campaign that he comes in, his wish has always been social fabric to improve in Kenya. It is my prayer that the Right Honorable will rally, that will be his main agenda for Kenya. Because all these other agendas have been done. he should not go back to what Jubilee. He can only build up on what Uhuru has done, finalize so that they don't become elephant projects. But for him, his main agenda for this country must be what Tomboya said. Ondoa ujinga, ondoa ugonjwa, ondoa umaskini. Those three must be his tool as we move. And for me, that is why I stand with him. I look at him. I've never voted for Right Honorable. No. This will be his vote. But then, it is my prayer that is his agenda.
Do you think he can do it?
He can. One, what I'm telling Kenyans is that at where the Right Honorable is now, he has nothing to lose from you, from me, from anyone. By the way, he has only one thing: build his name, ensure the legacy he has wanted for all the years he has stood to be president is achieved, which were those three things. If he leaves Kenya with that, whoever president comes will find a country that is more with dignity than we are in now.
Going beyond,
And I keep on saying, I keep on saying, it's my prayer that he will stand with those three things. That health we are talking about, that Baba care, will be indeed
it will be realized.
Going
beyond the presidential candidate, you've talked about, looking at the people who want to be governor of Nairobi, MCAs in Nairobi, and you're saying, oh my goodness, I'm just hoping that voters pick the right leader.
Yes.
What should they look out
MCAs.
for? What should a voter look out for?
You see, I want to tell the voters of Nairobi, if you want to eat money and continue having this money that is flowing, fine. But when it comes to the day of the vote, please don't look at the money. Now vote for the person you want to go and work. Vote for that person you've been seeing and you think, this is just a simple person. I don't understand what he's saying. Please vote for that person. If you're going to vote for a person who is spending money on you, please remember he's coming back for 5 years to also look for money. He will meet you again because that is what all you want. So I want to plead to them, don't do the things. They are there. Everyone is coming with their different agendas. There are those who can't even speak. So if you can't speak now, how are you going to speak when you're doing the bills, when you're looking at public participation, when you're looking at the budget, when you're fighting for the budget of your ward level? If you cannot communicate that, if you cannot even tell the people of that ward that for the last 10 years or 5 years, you have received this from the governor, or maybe there's nothing you have ever received from the governor. The only thing you've been receiving is you coming with the bursaries only. But in terms of this has been done, where is our market? Why is our sewer like this? How can we use young people to be the ones collecting that garbage? Why are we saying we have many young people not doing anything? Yet you can just take them on casho, let them clean their area. Let them clean that ward for you. So you don't even need to go far.
So be deliberate in the person
you choose. Please,
MCA.
Kenyans, please, Nairobians, be deliberate.
Asante.
Also, bring in a person who will have a sitting with their governor. Not when they want something, they start threatening. We are impeaching you. We are doing this. We are doing this.
Beatrice, thank you very much for joining us. Beatrice Elachi is a former Speaker of the County Assembly of Nairobi, former CAS in the Ministry of Public Service and Gender, and is also now aspiring to be the next MP for Dagoretti North. Asante for joining us. As we conclude, CT, today's proverb.
Indeed. For lack of criticism, the trunk of the elephant grew very long.
For lack of criticism. Thank you for joining us. Have a lovely day today.
The government became more stubborn. That's what it means.